Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Brown, and I am the Urban Disruptor. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday morning as it snows and flakes outside, and the warmth of the home is the place to enjoy. I appreciate you tuning in to Urban Disruptor's weekly wrap up. We've been doing this since January of 2020. What a year it's been. Today, we're going to be a little bit more lighthearted. I'm going to talk about some really important news, but I'm also going to talk about how the arts are celebrated in Camden. I'm so happy to have our guests today, which include Vedra Chandler of Connect the Lots and A New View, a part of Cooper's Ferry Partnership. Another guest today is Jocari Peralta, who is a young influencer and vlogger right here in our city, and Erik Montgomery, the fantastic photographer and business owner who has participated in a fantastic project here in the city. So I want to ask that you just take a moment to share this, let other people know you're watching, start a watch party, put a comment in and say hello or tell me good morning so I know that you're there, and let's have some fun. All right, I'm gonna get into it this morning as I usually do with the news. So here we go right here in our WCMD studio. Good morning, Erik. I see you there in the waiting room. You had to give me a few minutes and you'll be on. That Erik, you guys are gonna be so happy to meet Erik and Vedra and Jocari. Erik's background looks awesome. I can't wait to bring him on. But first, I have to go over some news. So as you may have read, the state legislature, the Assembly, and the Senate both passed a bill to legalize recreational marijuana. This has been really many years in the coming. This was a campaign promise that Governor Murphy made when he ran for governor, that this would be something that happened in November. As we as voters voted for president, we also had a chance to vote for the constitutional question to legalize recreational marijuana, which the voters did on a 2-to-1 margin. Around 66 or 2 out of 3 voters voted in support of the legalization of marijuana. The legislature had until the end of this calendar year to pass a bill because the constitutional amendment takes place on January 1st, 2021, which is just a few weeks away. So they had a lot of wrangling and arguing in the legislature, including among Democrats, but they did come together and they voted on a bill. And as the weeks go on, I will tell you more and more what is in there. But as of January 1st, anyone that is in possession of an ounce of marijuana or less will not face any criminal penalty for that possession. It's going to take some time, many months, if not even a whole calendar year, before we actually have a retail space where recreational marijuana is sold in that recreational space, because the governor still has to sign this bill into law. The regulations have to be created by the commission, the same commission that regulates the medical marijuana dispensary industry will also have power over the recreational marijuana industry, which is a new industry started in our state. So if you care about lighting up, or more importantly, you care about social justice issues, I highly recommend that you continue to pay attention to this issue. One of the things that the state legislature did in passing the law was allow for there to be a pot of money that goes to areas, which of course include Camden, that have been impacted with arrest of people who have been arrested for possession or distribution of narcotics, of marijuana. I do want to note, good morning. I also want to note in the law, I also want to note that the legislature also passed a law which decreases the penalties for having access to psilocybin. I always pronounce it wrong, but that's the chemical in magic mushrooms. So there's also a law that allows for that. All right, let's talk about some other news, and I'll do some screen shares. There is always a lot going on in our beloved city, in this community, and let's see what those things are. All right. So first things first, the vaccinations for coronavirus are out, and people are getting their shots. One of my friends who works in a hospital as a nurse, he got his vaccine yesterday. So people are getting their vaccinations. I'm curious, are you interested in getting your vaccination? What is the process you're going to use? How are you going to figure out what you're going to do in terms of getting your vaccination? If anyone has any thoughts on that, please let me know in the comments. If you're going to get your vaccination, what makes you feel safe in this? What are your concerns? I want to be able to bring a guest on probably in early January to talk more about the vaccination. I don't I'm not a frontline worker, so I don't qualify to be in the first round. I actually think it's a good thing because it gives me time to see how other people react to the vaccination. Me being the hyper intellectual that I am, I read everything. I read what opponents have to say, supporters have to say. I certainly lean towards getting the vaccination. Vaccinations have been around for over 100 years. It is down to a science. So let's see what happens with that. I think anything that we can do to decrease the transmission of COVID-19 and to keep ourselves safe so we can open up our community, our world back up is an awesome thing. Good morning, and thank you for watching this. Please share this video. I'm going to do it right now. Share this video so other people can see it too as I prepare to talk more and more about the news. Thank you guys for being in the waiting room. I am just sending this video to people so they can see what we're talking about this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning to Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. We're going to have an in-studio guest and we're also going to have an in-studio guest and some people that tune up online as well.
How you doing?
So thank you for that. So if you're watching this, just share this on your network, and I'm going to share a little bit more news, and then we're going to bring on our guests so that they can see exactly what it is that we are talking about this wonderful Sunday flaky morning. Thank you for our guest that just walked into the studio. So if you're watching this on WCMD Media on Facebook, thank you. If you're watching this on WCMD Media on YouTube, also thank you. If you're watching this on the Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up on Facebook, thank you as well. As the weeks go on, we will switch our format to a YouTube-based format because we have a little bit more freedom, and also the WCMD Media website. All right, so what else is going on in the news? There has been a death of a legend in our community. Preston Gunning passed away earlier this week. Preston Gunning was an educator in Camden for many years. I'm just going to read a little bit from his obituary. Preston was promoted to serve in the administration in Camden schools and ultimately served as Camden Board of Education Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Board Secretary, retiring in 1990. While in retirement, his leadership was missed and was asked to come back to serve as acting superintendent of the Camden Board of Education. So I'm going to put this link in the comments, but I know some of the people in the Gunning family, we wish them well in their time of mourning. And I think it's important that we honor the legends from our community whenever we can. Also in the news, in no particular order, the Cooper Hospital, Virtua, they all have thousands of vaccines for their staff. Frontline workers, medical workers, nurses, doctors, CNAs are first in line to get the vaccine, so that has started. Next story. Next story is, I feel like there's a link I was supposed to open that I didn't open. Oh yeah, here it is. Camden police officer arrests man with illegal handgun in Morgan Village. Camden police officer, this is reported and tapped into by Stephen Rodas. Camden police officer Geraldo Martinez was commended this week for arresting a man in possession of a handgun without incident. He was called to Morgan Village neighborhood and found that a driver had an illegal stolen Smith and Wesson M&P 40 handgun. I don't know what any of that means. That he used de-escalation. The report goes. So I got to say, if I'm going to talk about how this officer was commended, I also want to mention something that the streets in Camden have been talking about. There were 4 men that were stopped in Centerville by several police officers, and I would say that traffic stop did not go well. The car was parked on the street, had tinted windows with PA tags, and the car was stopped. Although I guess you can't use the word stop because it was parked. A young man sitting in the back seat recorded most of it. It is on social media, making its way around. And let me say this because I've talked to a few people about this. And one of our guests today, Jocari, I'm going to see, maybe ask her what her thoughts are on this too. But here's the thing. Our police department in Camden is probably the most trained in the nation. They wear body cams, so every interaction they have with the public is recorded. You can see a little red dot shining on their camera. They are trained in de-escalation. They're trained on community policing, and they get more training than most police officers get in this country. They are introspective police department, and that if I call the chief or people complain, there are people that take those complaints seriously. What's also true is that our community is over-policed, and the police have been given the duty of making our community safer when that is an economic justice issue, not a policing issue. This is my opinion here. So I commend this officer for doing his job, right? And de-escalating. This is his job. This is what he's trained to do. But I also think that police deserve criticism for going overboard in some traffic stops, because I know that Centerville some of these young people are wilding out. But if we think that we can resolve this issue just by having more police being aggressive, we ain't getting it right. And we're going to continue to have these issues, and we will not do what we really need to do, which is to end generational curses in our community. With that said, I would now like to bring up our guest. I see Vedra with. Oh wow, Vedra! I see Vedra. I can see you. I see Vedra in the waiting room. I'm going to ask our guest to come up. Come on up. You can take that mask off for sitting up here. Either touch your forehead to make sure you don't have anything. And I'm going to bring on our guest, and I will introduce them. There he is, Erik James Montgomery and Vedra Chandler. And I gotta change my. Sorry, guys, I need more space. You got kind of kicked over there. All right. Get my position. That look good. Okay. Hey, Jocari.
Hi.
I've never actually met you face to face, so it's nice to see you. All right. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to introduce everybody. They sent me their biographies, but I'm just going to wing it just so I can be right here with the audience. Let me say that it's an honor and a privilege to interview all 3 people. I follow all of them, not in a creepy way, but in a professional way to see what they're up to. And I want to say a few things. So first, I'll go in order how I know them. Vedra Chandler is from Camden. She's born and raised in Camden. What Vedra and I have in common is that both of our parents are collectively all educators. So education was instilled in our lives as young people. We were reading, we were studying, we were traveling. Vedra's parents did a great job of getting her into great schools. And Vedra went to Harvard, where she studied government. She went from studying government to touring with the circus, although I'm sure there are a few things in between. She's extremely talented. She can sing, she can dance, but she can also raise $1 million in grants, and she can manage fantastic arts programs, which are really changing the identity of our city. Next is Erik Montgomery, who is a fantastic photographer. Look at his background right now, as in what's behind him, but also his background. He is a fantastic photographer and businessman. He has a wonderful, humble personality, really easygoing and easy to get along with. And then to my right, and probably your left, looking at the screen, is Jocari Peralta, who is a young influencer who will talk about herself, but also self, which is her contribution to the world, and talking about who we are and how we can be better, both internally as we give more to the world. And I look forward to hearing her story as well. It's my honor and her fortune that Erik James Montgomery took a picture of both of us for a project which you will talk about, and I think we're kind of near each other up on that, up on the wall. With that said, good morning, Vedra. How are you?
Good morning, Sean. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Good morning, Erik.
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, everybody.
And good morning, Jocari.
Good morning.
All right, that was actually my sound check.
Oh, nice. That's great. Hi, Jocari. Hi, Erik.
Hey.
All right, so I want to just get into it. I want to ask all of you, but starting with Vedra, but because of the projects that you work on, Vedra, with Connect the Lots and a New View, and then what your talents and contributions are to the city in general. Again, this question is for everybody. How does art, cooking demonstrations, and murals help solve Camden's biggest issues?
I think it's a great question. I'm going to say both directly and indirectly is my short answer. I think that one of the things we talk about when we engage in these projects is the quality of life for Camden residents, right? Like, I'm gonna back up a little bit and talk about when I worked with youth. This is not something that I do now in my current position, not on a regular basis. Of course, I interact with young people, but I was working with youth every day. And I would often hear them describe Camden as if it were a sentence, not a city, right? And that has not been my experience, but I recognize that for some people it is. So while other people are addressing issues like education that will ensure that each individual child or person or whatever in Camden has choices and options in life, the projects that I work on address kind of the other end of that, which is that once a person has choices and has agency, I want them to choose Camden. I want Camden to be the kind of place that people choose to live, the place that is enriched with the art and culture of the people that live here, and I think there's some work to be done kind of in cultivating and harnessing and then making that stuff work for the city, making some of our innate talents work for the city. So it's been really fun to work on art projects, particularly in Camden, because I think that their ability to impact quality of life for residents is really, really strong. It is also so important as an economic driver, as the city is missing out on like an arts and culture economy a lot of times. So a lot of the work that we do with Connect the Lots as well is about making sure that people are employed, artists are employed, artists have opportunities to work, and that as they kind of move, they get money, right? We pay artists for the work that they do.
Your check's clear.
The check's clear, thank you, they sure do. And when these young artists, I look at them all the time, I'm like, when they blow up, they should be able to say, when they're on Oprah's show and somebody's like, oh, tell us about your start. Like, tell us where you got started. Like, I'm from Camden. I want people to say I'm from Camden, New Jersey. And when I started singing, when I started dancing and I started rapping, I started there. Like there was a stage for me there. There was a place for me to get up and showcase my talent. And it's been a pleasure every moment of this job to be somebody who is providing that stage. Yep. Making sure that check clears, raising that money to make sure that we have stuff like this. The other thing that happens, I think, with arts and culture and the larger issues of the city of Camden is just awareness, right? Like Connect the Lots, like activating parks and stuff. So again, I'm gonna double back a little bit. Like, how many times do you kind of, as a Camden resident, just like kind of think of something that you want to do and then realize that you have to leave town to do it? And I'm not talking about going to the mall. I'm sorry, everybody, but you're always going to have to leave town to go to the mall. We're not going to build a mall in our 9 square mile city. Like, we can have some shopping districts. It's not going to be a mall. But I'm talking about going to a playground.
I like boutique. I'm bougie. I like boutiques, actually.
Well, you could, yeah, exactly, right? We want to do a little boutique. We can have that. And we do have that. But I'm talking about going to a playground or going to an event. So again, this kind of goes back to like Camden being a community of choice. But one of the things, you want to live in a place where you have stuff to go to. You don't necessarily have to leave. It doesn't mean that you can't leave. Like, of course, we all leave all the time. We go out and we do stuff in other towns. We go to Philly. It's one of the joys of living in South Jersey is that you have options and other stuff. But if you want to do it in town or you don't want to go or you can't go, you want to be able to do it in your backyard. And that makes your community comfortable, right? It makes it nice. We want to live in a nice place. So in addition to that, though, what we found with the Connect the Lots initiative is that people, this is back to the awareness point, is that people were we were working with other organizations and investing a lot of money in park infrastructure. And parks were getting new playgrounds and getting new surfaces and getting new stuff, but they weren't necessarily seeing visitors. And visitorship to city parks had been down due to some of the challenges that city has faced. So Connect the Lots was kind of initially about creating kind of an awareness around the idea that your public spaces are here for you, and activating those spaces so that people get out, use them, and I haven't been to this park. I came to this park because somebody said there's a free concert here, but this park looks great, looks better than it ever has. And then
I went to this banging park at the waterfront for a wedding a few weeks ago.
Right? How was that? I bet that was nice. I think Erik was there too. And then that's also what we do with the New View, right? Like, it's an art project. It beautifies the city. It challenges people. It employs people. It does all the things that I'm talking about. It makes Camden a community of choice, and it also brings awareness to some of these issues. And that is what I mean, like the work that we do has a direct and an indirect impact on some of Camden's biggest issues. People, if you don't know that there's an illegal dumping problem, how can you help? How can you fight? So we need to make sure that people know. And if the way to grab your attention is with portraits of your fabulous faces on buildings, then that's great. If it's with a giant robot, then that's great. Whatever it is, right? But we want people to talk about it. We want people to know about it. We want people to be upset about it. And we want to get to work on it so that we can continue that work of making sure that Camden is a community of choice, a place where we all want to live.
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. So I started the Urban Disruptor. All right, Erik. So Erik, same question for you. How do you think art, murals, your photographs, how do you think they help Camden in its biggest issues? Hey, good morning.
So I totally agree. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No worries. So I totally agree with Vedra. And in addition to that, I would say that arts and culture is important to Camden because it's a reflection of the city. The arts will always reflect what's happening in the city artistically. And we as artists, we pretty much digest what's going on in our communities. And then what we share is our feelings, our emotions, and our energies towards those subjects. So with arts, the murals, whether it's cultural events, whether it's public art installations, concerts, it's always a reflection of what's going on in the city. That's why it's so important to share. That's why it's so important to keep having these types of events. It gives hope, it gives direction, and also educates. I believe that art is edutainment. It's educational and it's entertaining at the same time. So when we are able to edutain the public, we're able to show them the directions that we can go to. It gives hope, it gives possibilities and things of that nature. So with the images that I'm creating, I've been commissioned to photograph 100 Camden residents, and each Camden resident will complete the prompt of Camden is, and we've heard everything from beautiful, coming up next, powerful, invincible, always positive, always directing towards a better future and possibilities of what can become. And I love that. I did not coax any of the participants in what they were going to say. I just wanted them to know that whatever they do say, that not only your community will see it, but the world will see it as well. So that was like kind of phase one, was taking the pictures. Phase two was putting up these images on abandoned buildings. And people may say, well, why abandoned buildings? I feel that cities like Camden has been abandoned as far as emotionally, as far as getting the attention that it needs. And in addition to being dumped on, right? So we talk about illegal dumping. I feel that Camden has been dumped on negatively with all of the negative news and all the negative stats that has been going out there. And we don't see the power of the people. So when you see these portraits of people who are either don't know where their next paycheck is coming from, or people who are very well to do, and everybody in between, every color, and every demographic, every educational level, everybody's represented 360 degrees in this project. So when we see these images, people are able to say, that's me. in her or in him.
Mhm.
And we're looking at our viewers right now can see this on the screen. Erik, I'm going to put this link in the comments so people can follow up. And fantastic answer. And Jocari, same question. So same question for you. You're a young lady in our community who is an artist in your own way and appreciates the arts. So, is this Madonna on your shirt?
It's Mary.
Mary?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's just a style choice.
Okay. Very nice. It's very festive appropriate for the moment and art as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, same question. Yeah. So where are my notes?
Yeah. The mural.
Okay. Yeah. How do art, the cooking demonstrations, murals, mosaics, I'm gonna add graffiti. How do all these things help with Camden's biggest issues?
I'm so glad that you mentioned graffiti because I'm a big fan of graffiti.
Likewise.
But honestly, I grew up in the city and I just remember seeing these murals and just feeling inspired whenever I would walk down the street. What people called vandalism, I called art. And as far as Erik's project and everything that A New View is doing, I feel like it's art, but in a different direction. It's something that's more mainstream that people can appreciate. I feel like people from the city, we appreciate the art that other people would call, vandalism or not art. But this is very in your face, like, no, this is art and this is us. So for me, I just feel like representation is important. And the fact that the people that were photographed are from Camden, it makes me so happy because I'm like, this is us, this is our city. And, Camden is changing. I do see many changes from when I was little to now. And it's not bad, but I just always am cautious of what direction are we going in? Are the local shops still going to be there? Are the people in the community still going to look like us? And all I want for our city really is for us to move forward, for there to be less violence. And I think the more art, the better, because when you have more art, people are inspired. They're more creative because they feel like they have that space to be creative. So I think that's important. And so yeah, for me, murals, graffiti, all of that, it just makes my soul happy because it's what I love.
So Vedra, I have a question for you, and I'm gonna come back to the other guests too. How has the pandemic delayed A New View in the projects? I know I was at a press conference at Rutgers Nursing School. I don't know. The pandemic makes the timing weird, so I don't remember when that was. I don't know if it was like January or what, but the projects were going to be done and completed and unveiled this year. And the pandemic slowed things down. Erik was still able to do his because well, I don't know why, but you guys can tell yourself. So good.
Yeah, we can tell you about that. So yeah, that was January. We had a big, exciting kickoff and launch, and we got really excited about getting all the art up between March and April, and then we all know what happened in March and April. So yeah, a huge part of the project was getting people together. We really wanted people to gather around the art and like assemble around the issue. So we didn't feel that it was doing the project justice if we could not invite people to share space. And that's like exactly what coronavirus did, right? Ask people to limit the amount of air that they share. And especially in those early months, it wasn't as clear about indoor versus outdoor activities. We had a lot to learn. So we just felt like we would just give it a minute to rest and breathe, if you will, I guess, pun intended, and come back to it this spring. We were able, this project is funded by Bloomberg Philanthropy. So I'll give them a shout out on your show. And they were very sensitive to the pandemic. Michael Bloomberg directed a lot of funding in the direction of pandemic relief and took care of his Art Challenge winners as well. So we were able to provide some interim programming like Erik's with a little extra support from Bloomberg and other project partners. We have a huge team working on this project. But yeah, the major setback I will say is, I think the artists kind of felt like, oh, we could deliver the art, like we could do the thing, but we just didn't want the impact of having the conversation. We wanted to make sure that could happen. So that was the delay.
And Erik, Jocari, what's your Camden is? What's your word?
Healing.
Camden is healing. Okay.
Healing. I love to hear the words. Sean, yours is worthy?
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, so good.
Which one do you like more?
Oh, shut up. I know, right?
This is how you talk to you on my show, Vedra?
Yes.
I'll be back in a minute.
I'm always trying to figure out how I can get one of these portraits, but I'm like,
Camden's worthy of healing.
oh, good job, Jocari. There you go. That's why we get the young baby.
Look at that.
You guys
Worthy
I'm
of
not going to
healing.
say Erik said mine was the best when I gave him my word. I can't say it because it's not true, but I'm going to put that out there.
They were all good.
They were all good. Yeah.
They're so good. I have a favorite, but it's not this. I mean, I'm not going to say which one it is.
Well, we know. It's okay. So just driving around the city, North Camden and other places, you look at this, blight is a problem here. And I think that, and I'll actually like to hear what all of you have to say about this before we switch gears a little bit. I think that the drab, gray, boring, nasty at times, abandoned and vacant properties that we have, the dumping that you spoke of, Vedra, I think it creates a psyche in people where it's like, if other people are going to have this trash, I'm going to contribute to this trash. If people don't care enough about taking care of my community, maybe I don't care about taking care of my community. There's a lady used to tell the story about like when children would travel to the suburbs, going to the mall that you're talking about earlier, Vedra, they'd be like, oh, you can't litter here. We can't litter here. Here we can get in trouble for it. But in our own city, we can trash it. Not the way to think, not true. And I think that what A New View is doing, starting with Erik's work, and I think it's almost poetic justice in a way that for a lot of the projects that were delayed, the one that was able to continue on time is Camden. It's a Camden homegrown project with Erik. But I say all this to say, I know this is a deep question, but do you think that there's a connection between the psychological issues and trauma of living in Camden, and then the way that art can respond to those issues?
Absolutely. Yeah. Wait. I was gonna say, who wants to start? Who wants to start?
Oh, well, okay. Absolutely, because like I said, I was inspired growing up looking at these murals and art, but also looking at the abandoned buildings and all the trash and all of that. It does make you feel like, my community isn't worthy per se. This town is better, because not only because you see that in other towns it's cleaner, safer, but you also hear it from adults. They're always, saying, well, Camden isn't safe, Camden this, Camden that. And I grew up, I have my friend here with me, Savannah, but we went to Camden County Technical School in Sicklerville, and there we were a part of this program called FCCLA. So we would do a lot of conferences in Cherry Hill and whatnot. And there were schools from all over South Jersey. And, one thing that we would always get when we would say we're from Camden is Camden. And, I used to always feel some type of way about that, because it's like, I understand that we have a rep, and, I'm not saying that our city's perfect, but it always made me feel like there was something wrong with me, or something wrong with like where I was from. And that didn't instill pride in me, per se. But as I got older, I realized that, the reason people think so bad about our community is because we don't think good about our community. So when people ask us where we're from, people be like, oh, I'm from Camden, unless you have people that are really, proud and hype and like, I'm from Camden, CMD, But like, I feel like a lot of people weren't proud to say they were from the city because of, just like you said, seeing all the abandoned, all the ugly. But I like to challenge that and say, well, what if we looked at the abandoned as beautiful? Who said that was ugly? And is there a way to work with what we have, not trying to, break the bank, and still be able to contribute and fund, so that we could eventually, restore these buildings and create homes, businesses. But yeah, I definitely think that psychologically, there are a lot of youth that kind of feel like, I have to leave the hood, I have to leave the inner city and go to the suburbs to be happy.
Right.
Then I'll be good. Then I'll know I made it. And I always say, I'm gonna I was born here and I'll probably die here. Like, I'm proud of where I'm from, and I want to invest in the city because it's given so much to me and my family. And I feel like the only reason people think that another township is better is because the grass is always green on the other side. You always want what you don't have. But if you would just appreciate what you do have, then you would see that there's a lot of beauty here. And not only that, you just feel like you're understood. Everybody here kind of, we're like a family in a way, you know. I don't even know certain people, but I just know like we all have a similar mindset of what it means to be a community, and I can feel the pride in a lot of people. So that's my answer. But yeah, definitely it does affect your psyche. My long answer.
No, it's a great answer. Anybody have anything to add?
And so for me, I'm deeply into the psychology of photography. I truly believe that as a person sees themselves, they're going to respond. So if you think negatively about yourself and you see yourself as unworthy, as ugly, as just discounted, then you're going to act accordingly. So to me, I use my photography to really dispel those myths and to show the beauty that resides in everybody. And sometimes that takes some conversations. Sometimes that takes them seeing themselves in a better light and then having them understand that you never have to judge yourself by somebody else. When you do that, you will always lose. And it doesn't matter if you're a 5-year old, 10-year old, or a senior citizen. I've been a photographer now for 30 years, and one of the hardest things for me to do is to get people comfortable with the skin that they're in, right? Especially people of color, because we've had so many negative um, myths that's been out in the media, starting with the birth of a nation, and even before that, with the minstrel shows and things of that nature, where there were a lot of negative imagery that was, yes, all the shuffling and jiving and blackface and all the negativity. And when people see themselves as an underling, a lot of times they're going to act accordingly. So, and Vedra can account to this, when we started hanging the portraits, we always connect with the community. So I'm a stickler on making sure I connect with the community before I hang up any images, because I don't want to come in like Columbus and say, I know all the answers and here's my art. No, I really want to have the community understand what the project is about, and you can also be a part of it. But in doing so, we've heard a lot of feedback from the residents, from people just coming by. And there was a few times that people will come up to us, Camden residents, and say, hey, those people that you're hanging up, did they pass away? Or are they wanted by the police? Again, this is like re-educating our
First
community.
answer, first answer, no, I'm still alive. Second answer, wanted by the police. I may have an outstanding ticket or two.
But that's not why your picture is
No,
up on the
no,
building.
Right. So, but we use that as a teachable moment, and Vijay and I will look at each other and say, "Great, let's go in." Right. And it's not like we know, it's not being a know-it-all, but it's having those teachable moments, those opportunities to share. Like, okay, let's rethink this. Why would you say that? Right. And why can't we celebrate people who are living, people like you, people like him, her, and what would be the benefit of that? Right. So more than beautifying the city, we're also beautifying people's insight about the city that they live in. So, yeah, the psychology of photography is huge to me.
And Sean, I'm just going to add, I'll try to keep it quick, but I agree with all you guys said it all. One thing that Erik said one day, Erik, like, why are you quoting me while we were out hanging portraits, is that when, a project like this helps people to understand that somebody cares. You don't beautify spaces that nobody cares about, right? Like you take the time to make it beautiful because you care. Think about your own house, your own living room, right? Like you clean up your bathroom because you care. You make sure it's nice when you get in there. So same thing. So I think that that's an important aspect of what we're, talking about. Like this is just a demonstration of not just that Erik and I care, right? But Jocari cares and Sean cares and all these faces of all these people up there. Like all these people care. And I also want to echo, I totally agree with what Erik is saying. You cannot, evaluate your own self-worth based on what other people think. But one of the goals or one of the things that we want to bring awareness to with A New View, and it's part of why we named it this, the project called A New View, is that Camden really does suffer from a major image problem. You know, Jocari just talked about it. Like, you get out in the world, you start telling people where you're from, and sometimes you're not, you're like bracing yourself for the reaction that they're going to have to your address, right? And yeah, I think that the way, and also, Sean, the anecdote that you gave, like, there's, you know, internal and external image problem. Why, when you arrive in Cherry Hill or Haddonfield, do you feel like this is not the kind of place where I can litter? But why do you have this vision of your own city, or even forget about your own city, right? Like, part of a new view is bringing attention to the fact that other people dump on Camden too. So why do people have this vision of Camden that says, like, this is a place where I can leave trash any old place? That's an image problem that's deeply rooted in other things, right? We can definitely go back 400 years and talk about some of the roots of this issue, but it does exist, and we have to challenge it. You know, we cannot. We don't need to just stand here and let everybody say and think and act like Camden is some kind of dumping ground, because it is not.
So I just want to, just for a second, I just want to say, if you're just tuning in this morning, thank you for tuning in on this beautiful, flaky Sunday morning on the 19th of December. I am live here at WCMD Studios, a part of the Dare Academy family at 1656 Kane Avenue. On Wednesday, we will have a live holiday special that I ask that you tune in and watch from 7 to 9. It's going to be live musical performances and some, believe me when I tell you, some pretty big surprises with some holiday greetings as well. Today, our guests are Jocari Peralta, a young influencer in our city. I was about to say beautiful, but I didn't want to say something inappropriate, so I'm going to say that.
Thank you.
Vedra Chandler. Vedra Chandler, also beautiful. And Erik Montgomery, I don't know, elegant, handsome.
Elegant.
And of course, the most
Beautiful soul.
Elegant.
Yes. I want to just acknowledge some of the comments. I'm laughing because I'm about to throw a doozy out. But before we get to that, some of the comments: Felix Moliere, often and frequent commenter and watcher of the show. We appreciate you, Felix. Says, art instills needed pride and hope in our city. Many residents are very creative, and artists have changed economies of post-industrial cities. You're absolutely correct, Felix. I wrote a story on that in graduate school about Tijuana. Appreciate how inclusive Vedra and Erik are in the New View project. Absolutely. Erik, real quick, how many more spots do you have available if people want to have their portrait as part of the project?
We have about 35 slots left. So
Okay.
if there's anybody who's interested, I would love to get this completed as soon as possible. So that way we could just focus on promoting the images. But if anybody's interested, they can either come to my studio at Camden Fireworks, 1813 South Broadway, or if they reach out to me, I could even set up my mobile studio and we can photograph right outside, just in case somebody is COVID weary, and we can keep that 6 feet distance. Either way, we stay masked up until it's time for you to take your photo. It takes about 5 minutes and you'll be on your way.
Yes. Carmen Uberry, another frequent watcher of our show, says, is there a Camden artists organization or community resource that shares all of the Camden artists we have in the city? I'm curious to see who they are and what they're doing. Vedra, I'll throw that question to you. I think you know the answer.
Yeah, we actually, organizations working on art projects in Camden, I'll say, right? Frequent art and frequent communication. And I think I'm going to answer your question, Carmen, when I say that everybody wants a list, right? Everybody wants to see a place where they can go and see who are all the artists, what are all the arts organizations, just give them to me all on a list and a website. There are kind of lists like that live inside of different organizations, but I can't think of one that is just generally available to the general public. And but I do know that many people think about this and work on this and seek the funding necessary to make sure that this is something that can be accessible to everybody. I think it sounds a little easier than it is. Let's just make a list and put it up, but where does it live? Who maintains the list? How do we make sure the list always is frequent and current? So it's, it's kind of a thing. But Erik, do you know something about this too?
I do. So I recently became, excuse me, a commissioner with the Camden Arts, Cultural, and Historical Society. So we're working on a comprehensive list of the artists, art organizations, murals, and things of that nature. It's a Herculean task, but hopefully by the spring, you'll be able to see a website where you'll have a catch-all of all of the arts and everything arts related. So please stay tuned.
Yeah, and
And
thanks for and keep asking for it, because I think every time we hear somebody ask for it, it like it reminds us like, okay, this is something that people we all know we want it, but it's nice to know that everybody kind of wants this.
and being the urban disruptor I am, I'm going to say I have a question for you. Am I right in saying that no list will ever be complete because there will always be underground artists in this community?
Yes, definitely. I feel like even when you introduced me as like an artist in my own right, I do feel like there's a lot of people that are artists and they just don't know it. Um, and maybe they're not going to be on a list ever until they themselves put themselves in that category and take that initiative. But I feel like we should also definitely take into consideration the people who would like to contribute and kind of even do some local underground, events and stuff like that. Like just for beginners, even, there's painters, there's photographers, there's people who love fashion in the city, a lot of different things.
I think Vedra would like to talk to you about this at some point, one on one.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to switch gears. So Felix wrote a comment, and it's actually going to lead me into maybe the last point for anybody that wants to comment on it. It's also some, I think, very important news for Camden. So first, let me read Felix's comment, then I'm going to transition to the news. So Felix wrote, we have to apply the 80-20 rule to our appreciation of our city. The grass may appear greener on the other side, but all we need is the seeds to make our grass just as green, just as green. And with that said, I want to share a article that just came out a few days ago about some steps that are being taken right now to indeed make that grass greener. So a massive $11.5 billion business tax break quickly advanced New Jersey lawmakers set for a full vote on Monday, and by Monday meaning tomorrow. So as you guys may know, that there was Camden was a recipient of the Economic Opportunity Act, which started in 2013, more like 2016, where Haltech, 76ers, Subaru, Webimax, Connor Strong, Buckaloo, Michaels, NFI, Resin Tech, look at this all off the top of my head, are companies that came in because they received great tax incentives. These companies are hiring Camden residents. They're hiring whoever qualifies, also most qualified for the job. There's been a huge controversy over this. Governor Murphy and political boss and CEO and chairman George Norcross duked it out. There were hearings. I actually got to speak at a few myself over these issues over the economic development. So this is Economic Development 2.0. The bill is up for a vote tomorrow. What I feel is good news is that South Jersey legislators and Governor Murphy are in support of this. New Jersey Policy Perspective leader Brandon McCoy, who has been a guest on the show, he is a friend of mine, is against this because people think that tax incentives aren't always the best thing. Vedra's employer, Cooper's Ferry, is a huge part of economic development in our city. Vedra, is there anything you want to say on this?
I don't know anything about this, Sean, so I'm going to refrain from commenting at this time. But please, I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, my thought is this: as a grant writer and strategic planner that helps small businesses in this city, I think that we need as many incentives as we can. I was just in a work. I'm going to stop the screen share. I will put this article in the comments. I was in a workshop earlier this week, and hold on, let me stop my screen share. I was in a workshop earlier this week, and Jocari, when when you go to workshops about entrepreneurship and starting a business, many of them assume that you have access to $10,000 from your uncle, from your parent, that you can borrow money, and it assumes that you are positioning yourself to get angel investment, that you're going to have these people who you've never met that you present your business idea to, who will give you money so they can receive the profits and get their dividends over the months and years. The reality is, in cities like Camden, young entrepreneurs in particular are not starting off with a lot of money. Even me, I started my business as a consultant. I needed my mind, a notebook, and a computer to be able to start my business, and I did so successfully. This bill, I think, does a good job of addressing the fact that urban communities need financial support, that it will only come from government. It will not come from the private sector, at least not at first. And I think this bill does stuff to address it. I'm sure there are issues with it. I'm sure I did read, it's almost 200 pages. I read much of it last night preparing for the show. And there's a lot of things in there that are really, really good that I think that we should be happy with. I think that people are sometimes, anything that deals with politicians, people are leery of, but it's only the politicians that have the seats of power to be able to bring these types of opportunities. It's for us to have ingenuity, to have creativity, to have good business ideas, and to hold our elected and appointed officials accountable to making sure they fulfill their promises and have the interest of poor people at heart in the decisions that they make. So that's my take on it. Vedra, I couldn't not discuss this because it's a big deal. You work in the organization. Maybe you'll learn more about it at the staff meeting this week. And
right. I appreciate it. I appreciate the hot take. Thank you. I will think about it as we move into our 2021.
I now know to just talk to Chris and Brian about these issues, Vedra. So I'll just leave it at that.
Please.
Just in general, is there I see that comment. Just in general, is there and when it comes to the arts, economic development, what we can do to put more money in more people's pockets in this community? Any thoughts from Erik, Vedra, or Jocari on that? And then after that, I'm going to just let you guys promote yourselves and let people know what you're into right now.
I can make a quick comment. Oh, yeah,
okay.
Erik, you want me to go first? Well, so one of the things we had talked about offline, Sean, was the parks plan that just came out. And so I was not an author.
Oh, yeah, let me pull that up so people can see.
Yeah, so I was not an author on this plan, but some of my colleagues were. And the reason, and it's great, people should read it. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a plan for parks in Camden. And the reason I mention it is because plans are important. I think they sound so dry and so boring sometimes. But I have a quote on the wall behind me. I have two. One is that if you fail to...
Are these your own quotes?
No, if you fail, this is my my meditation room. So I have my inspiration on the wall. One is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And then the other one, I have to read it sometimes. It's important to me. In preparing for battle, I have always found that the plans are useless, but the planning is indispensable. And the reason I say this is because one of the things that we at Coopers Ferry hope to do in the coming year or two is create a plan similar, something that looks a little bit like this parks plan that outlines what steps we can take to ensure that arts and culture are economic drivers in the city. There are all kinds of things that we can do without a plan. We can individually, we can do stuff, each arts organization can do something, fireworks can do something, Jocari can do something, graffiti artists can do something, all kinds of people can do stuff, but we will be most effective if we can get organized. And lots of the arts organizations in the city are on board with this, have been working on this for a long time, but a plan like this one, this is something that we really think at Coopers Ferry are assets to city, and planning is a big part of.
Is that Frank Moran? He looks a little bit more diesel than I thought.
He's D's.
Yeah.
He's D's. You didn't know.
I gotta be a little bit nicer to him.
I was saying you didn't know your mayor was Jack. So anyway, I think that is an important step. I think that everything that we're doing right now in Camden is, in terms of arts and culture, is dead on. I think people are truly doing their part, pulling their weight, have a lot of good intentions, and we're doing the right stuff. But I would love to see intend to work towards creating a plan that looks like this so that we can really roll out some of these changes and some of these upgrades, if you will, on a massive scale. And Erik is a city arts and culture commissioner, but I sit on the Camden County Arts and Cultural and Heritage Commission. And, so that's, we get to look at kind of what other municipalities in the county are doing in terms of arts and culture and using those as economic drivers. And there's a lot of lessons that can be learned just from our brothers and sisters in Camden County about how to have effective arts economies. So Camden is up next, as my favorite portrait says.
I know you guys have the answer too, but I took a survey that helped inform this, and I know that I know many other Camden residents did. So I also want to point out that when people talk about community voice and community input, there's no perfect way for it to happen. But there was a survey out where I talked a lot about the experience that me and my children have at going to different parks in the city, what we want, what we expect, what we like, what we don't like. And just reading through this report, I did see those concepts and ideas from the survey reflected in this open space plan that exists. I know you talk about this as well. It's really important for us to not just be stuck in a house and not just stuck between four walls on the ceiling, and be out in nature, around trees, around water, having the breeze blow past our cheeks. Sounded stranger than I wanted it to, but being out in the air is important, Vedra. And thank you for your contribution to that. Just going back to the question, is there anything else that you got, Erik or Jocari? Is there anything else that you wanted to just share about what we're talking about today?
Sure. I think that it's important for funding to come through, whether it's through organizations and things of that nature, businesses, especially local businesses, to invest in their own community. So there's a lot of energy that needs to come that way. Secondly, I would say communities need to embrace the art that is readily available to them. So when people like myself are trying to bring the arts to the city, have an open ear and an open heart, and start to understand what we're trying to do as far as beautifying the city. And then lastly, and probably the most important, I believe that these young artists need to be educated on how to go after these grants and know what an RFP is and know how to present themselves in a business type of way. That's one of the things that my foundation focus on, no pun intended, where I'm teaching photography, but I'm also teaching them how to be working artists, business people. So with that balance, they'll be able to stay in business and create wonderful art for the rest of their lives. So I think those three components are necessary for this to go forward.
Great.
I still need to educate myself on all of this because I feel like I have so many ideas, but when it comes to grants and funding and all of that, I am lost. But it's mainly because, nobody ever explained it to me. You're not growing up, you're not told, oh, this is how you become an entrepreneur, and this is how you take off.
What did you study in school and high school?
I went to a technical school, but I did fashion design.
And then do they have an entrepreneurship class though in that?
No, I mean, we had financial literacy like once a week.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I'm not complaining. Like I love my high school. I went to Camden County College as well. Got my associates, but it was liberal arts. I still want to pursue higher education, but I feel as though when it just comes to like finance and entrepreneurship, people of color aren't necessarily given that leg up. We're not necessarily given that blueprint and told, this is how you build generational wealth and, like you said, break generational curses and, invest in your own community. But as far as like all the businesses that I'm seeing, pop up in the city, I also want to educate myself on that because I always say, what is your intention? As long as the intentions are good and benefit the people who currently live in the community, then I'm all for it. I would love to see small businesses, having more grants and all that, and just funding overall. I don't talk about this too much, but I'll put it out there because I feel like a lot of people could relate to this. But my father was an undocumented immigrant. He was, when he lived in Camden, he doesn't live here anymore. He was an entrepreneur in his own right. He had a bodega. He He had what was it?
Bodega. You guys know the song by
Yeah.
Amir Fontaine? If you don't know Bodega by Amir Fontaine, look it up. Camden artist. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a great song. Definitely.
I was like, that's not a
It
song.
is a song.
It
No,
is
it's
a
a
song?
song. It's a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, like my dad definitely, you know, he dabbled in that, but there were always issues, obviously him not having, you know, papers and all that. So I can only imagine, like, you know, I already know off the bat that he was gonna have his issues because of all that. But people who, you know, have their papers, who are here legally, like, you know, I'm sure they also have their own issues, and so I just feel like in general, like I already knew, like I said, it was gonna be hard for my dad. But I hear all the time, you know, people who have their businesses and have been here for a long time, like, oh well, you know, I built this, you know, from the ground up. Like nobody ever gave me any hand me downs or anything. Like I had to figure it out as I went. And so I'm always inspired because I hope to, you know, own a business one day in the city of Camden, and even online stuff. Like
You will. You will.
Thank you. I in the name of Jesus, I declare I will. But yes, I do feel like we just need to educate ourselves more and learn more about the resources that we have, and also open the door for new resources, because there are a lot of people with great ideas in the city, but maybe they just don't have the knowledge. You know, so that's my contribution.
And one of the things that I like about Vedra is that I have worked with Vedra a few times on organize. I didn't know you yet, but organizing a few events to help inform and educate artists on the exact things that Erik talked about. And when it comes, you know, I'm a grant writer, I'm a strategic planner, I help people start businesses. But when it comes from an actual artist, a person who's in the field, I think people in that same industry take it more seriously. Let me also say that the reason, as an urban disruptor, I thought it was important to talk to Erik, Vedra, and Jocari today is because I recognize that me talking about facts and figures, statistics, it matters. It's extremely important to the movement of how we get to a better community. But for every 10 people I can reach, Vedra and her voice, Erik and his photographs, Jocari with her podcast are reaching 1,000 more people with a very similar message of how we better ourselves, and then therefore connect that to improving our community. So Vedra, Erik, Jocari, thank you so much for your contributions, for being guests today. Erik, starting with you, if people want more information, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. They can contact me directly at 877-456-7924, or all things social media at ejmfoundation.org. Thank you.
Yeah, people sign up to get your portrait taken. They're so awesome. They're so awesome. I love them. We want to see all the faces. We could take every resident, we would.
And Vedra, if people want to find out more about how to get connected to A New View or Connect the Lots or you, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, please visit our websites. A New View is anewviewcamden.com. Connect the Lots is CTL, the letters, camden.com, ctlcamden.com. And the same on Facebook and Instagram. A New View and either CTL or Connect the Lots will take you to Connect the Lots pages. Follow us, sign up for text alerts. We make it really easy to know about free and family-friendly events that are coming up in the city. That are happening mostly in the warm weather, but you know, we partnered with the city and the county to do the Winter Wonderland last weekend too, so that was really fun. But yeah.
my son's got a sled, and like by the time they got to the house, it was cracked.
Oh.
And then they banged it, and then they took off a whole part, but that didn't stop them from sliding down. I don't know who to return that sled to, but now that we're connected, you can expect that orange sled on your.
Please do not bring that to my house. Illegal dumping. That is illegal dumping.
Sorry, how can we find out more about your wonderful and inspiring videos that you do on YouTube?
Okay, so I'm mainly on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook, and then on YouTube as Jocari Peralta. That's Jocari and then Peralta. And then I also have a podcast. It's called Self, SELF. It stands for Spirituality, Evolution, Love, and Fear. And we talk about all of those things. And it's growing. You know, I started this year in July, and I am back at, you know, my full-time 9 to 5. I kind of had like a little break where I was self-employed, but you know, had to go back. And for now, the podcast isn't as consistent as I was. You know, I would like to continue to upload frequently, but I'm not gonna quit. You know, I believe in my message, and I believe that you have to speak things into existence. So I will make time for this. You know, it's important, and I just want to promote healing for
Yes.
you know, people in the city, for people in the world, Black and brown youth, just adults, everyone, because we have so much trauma that was never addressed. And if we want to move forward, we have to look to the past. We have to heal those wounds. I'm writing a book, you know, 2021. I'm hoping I can release that. But yes, I encourage you guys to look up my podcast, and also to just, if you ever need somebody to talk to, you know, message me on Instagram. I'm very open. I want people to feel like they're safe with me, and I'm very open-minded. So tell me your story. I always say be empowered to share your story. There's power in your story, and the moment we realize that, the moment we move forward.
Thank you so much.
Sean, I forgot to say one thing. Can I say it? I'm sorry.
No, sure.
And Jocari, you actually reminded me with your message of empowerment, and yes, it's important. But part of a new view is that there's an online reporting tool for illegal dumping that I just want to make sure people know about. It's called Camden Reports. If you go to www.camdenreports.com, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your computer. You can report illegal dumping where you see it, when you see it, whenever you see it. So sometimes people have said that they have seen trucks. You can get the license plate number. You can put that on you can upload to the website. People driving in and dumping with, you know, commercial tags on a vacant lot. If you see something like that, you can check it out. You can also visit the website on the A New View website for information on how to dispose of your personal items. But Camden Reports is if you see like a pile of trash somewhere, take a picture of it, upload it. And I think, Jocari, the reason I was reminded of it by you is that this is an empowerment tool. You know, we're not just sitting around waiting for people to dump stuff and then walking away and saying, oh, well, I guess I live in Camden, so it's okay. There's a washing machine in my back alley. It is not okay that there is a washing machine in your back alley. I don't care where you live. You call somebody, you upload a picture to a website, you let somebody know so that they can come and take it away, and they can keep an eye on that alley and make sure that people are not coming back to that alley to dump the next thing. So it's just a way to love ourselves. It's a way to take care of ourselves and to help us heal this trauma. So
I appreciate you adding that, because honestly, it's like you said, it's an empowerment tool, and we haven't been given those tools in the past. So it's important that now moving forward we are, because that's how change happens, you know. So I appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Look at the comments for links if you want to follow up with any of these folks. Please, please, please share this video. Let them know that the Urban Disruptor is disrupting everything up in here, but in a positive and uplifting way.
We love it, Sean. We love it. Disrupt.
I hope all my guests are able to keep their jobs after doing this show.
Self-employed.
Erik, I love that.
So y'all will see me throughout the week. Tune in to WCMD Media. You'll see it shared for my stuff as well on Wednesday evening. Please tune in. It's going to be a wonderful event that's going to cause me great stress between now and then, because I have to help get ready with the team, with Nye and Waze and a few other folks. It's going to be super special. We're going to continue to promote fantastic artists right here from our community. Steve Levy is a musician and also a fantastic producer. He's leading the band. We have Sierra Irizarry is singing. I've heard her sing, and she has a wonderful voice. You know her? Yeah, she has a wonderful voice, and as far as I know, is an absolutely wonderful and beautiful young lady as well. And we have Joe Rivers is also performing, another extremely talented musician right here from our own community. So tune in on Wednesday. Please wash your hands, wear your mask, be safe, if you don't feel good, stay to yourself. I know a lot of people have been sick already. Love people. If you can't afford to get the next person a gift, it's okay. Do not let any pressure be on you for that. I think it's ridiculous how much money people spend on Christmas. It has nothing to do with I'm a Christian. It has nothing to do with the love of Jesus. So do what you can. Don't go overboard.
Exactly.
Ethan and Evan, if you get one gift under the tree, you should be grateful. You got so much stuff already.
Oh,
So
that's right.
take care, everyone. The people I talked to after the show, you had to give me about 20 minutes because I need to give them a tour of their academy. But I will call you. Thank you for Erik and I. I'm gonna tell the story. I don't know, Erik. I'm gonna tell the story. I know it's weird. I'm gonna tell it anyway. And Vedra, you don't know this. So Erik and I we're both at Vedra's wedding, at Vedra and John's wedding, and
Congratulations.
and
Bling.
I needed a ride, so Erik to the reception. So Erik gave me a ride, and I sit in his car to be super clean. I see a wipe next to me, which I use. And Erik looks over and says, "That's my trash receptacle."
Opposite of combating germs and viruses.
The wipe, it looks so crisp. I don't know. I thought it was like the thing you pull the wipe out of, but in fact it was like a trash can that it had been pushed down into.
Unbelievable.
So we're related now. We have the same DNA.
Yeah.
We're good.
You're in the same, but you're in the bubble. You're in a bubble. You guys can hang out all the time. You can have Christmas dinner.
Here we go.
So anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. Vedra, you know how much I love you. Erik, you know how much I love you too. Jocari, thank you so much for being a guest. The relationship will build along the way. Thanks for being a guest as well. So thank you for tuning in to Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. I will see you next Sunday, if not before. Take care.
Thank you guys for what you do.
Happy holidays.
Thank you,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas.
God bless.
God bless you guys.
Oh, Aaron, I'll tell you. I'll figure out, Aaron. I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.